Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Travis.
Well, NBA free agency is officially underway, but there's been a few blockbuster trades that have really changed the landscape of the entire NBA.
Yeah.
The first big blockbuster came between the Los Angeles Clippers and the Houston Rockets, where Chris Paul is now going to be on the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, that's a very, very surprising move. I think it's a great trade for both teams. I think Houston, it's fair to say they have the best backcourt in the NBA now, and it's going to be definitely exciting to watch them, but at the same time, I'm just not sure how well it's going to fit, because basically you had James Harden, who was moved to point guard last year in Mike D'Antoni's offense. Now you're going to have to move him back to shooting guard, where you got Chris Paul, he's an all-star, but he's kind of getting older. His defense isn't where it was before, and now you're just going to have pretty much two of the biggest floppers in the backcourt on the same team with Mike D'Antoni running the helm. And what do you think?
Well, obviously for the Clippers to get anything for Chris Paul, let alone a guy like Patrick Beverly, Lou Williams, Sam Dekker, first-round pick, and all the other role players they got in this trade. There's a ton of role players the Rockets gave up. But for the Rockets, it's got to be a win because they're looking to match the Warriors. And if you're going to match the Warriors, you need star players. Chris Paul is still a star player. Top 5, top 3 point guard in the NBA still. So, I mean, if it all works out, this is a huge, huge deal for the Rockets. I think they got a lot better because D'Antoni doesn't like to use his bench that much. So losing those role players really doesn't really hurt them in the long run. And they still have enough cap space to sign people like re-signing Renee. They brought in P.J. Tucker from the Raptors. So, I mean, this is a good deal for the Rockets all around. And if they can figure out, who touches the ball, who gets the ball when, who's on the bench when, who's on the floor with the bench players, if they can figure that out, they're going to be lethal, I think, in the Western Conference.
Yeah. See, I think I would rather see the Rockets go ahead and try to make a trade for Paul George instead of a guy like Chris Paul, just because Paul George, he brings you more versatility. He's a really good defender. He's a great offensive scorer. I think this move does put them one step closer to the Warriors, but they're not quite at the Warriors level yet. Now, there have been talks that, Melo in New York, he's trying to get bought out, that, him and Chris Paul are great friends, so maybe if they were able to get Carmelo Anthony on a kind of cheap contract, that could put them even another step closer to reaching the Warriors level.
Yeah, I think that would definitely help. Again, in terms of fit, all three of those guys will need the ball, so we'll see how that would work out. It still hasn't happened yet, but if it does, it would be interesting to see. Now, I gotta say, for the Clippers, how do we judge the Lob City era? Because Blake Griffin's going back to the Clippers to go play with DeAndre Jordan. They're kind of going to be retooling, rebuilding this roster on the fly, it seems like. They signed Danilo Gallinari, I know, as a fact. So, how do we view the Lob City era Clippers?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious it was a huge disappointment for them. They brought in their big three. They were expecting to contend for championships, and they didn't even make it past the second round in the West playoffs. So I think it's a pretty big disappointment for them. What do you think?
That's a huge disappointment because the NBA basically rigged it to have Chris Paul go to the Clippers. I mean, he was going to be on the Lakers with Kobe Bryant.
That would have been fun to watch.
The league stepped in because New Orleans had no owner at the time. They basically stepped in and said, nah, you're going to go to the Clippers, so you have two good LA markets. So, in terms of playoff success, I mean regular season success, they were
up there with
successful.
the top teams,
But playoff success, I mean, not even get past the second round. I mean, their biggest series win was the win against the Spurs, where Chris Paul had that game-winning floater, I think in Game 7. Other than that, I mean, they haven't really done much in the playoffs, and I don't know if that goes down to Chris Paul not being a truly elite superstar, because he's a great point guard, the best true point guard in the NBA. I don't know if it's because Blake Griffin, because he got injured, they're always injured, but it's got to go down as disappointing for sure. But maybe when they retool this roster, they have Jerry West coming in as an executive now.
That's a big good move.
So hopefully they can retool this roster a bit and kind of get younger and try and contend a few years down the line, hopefully.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. With the Houston Rockets getting Chris Paul, does it really push them that much farther to the next step? Because, I mean, last year they got to the Western Conference Finals.
They got semifinals. Against the Spurs,
So do you think that's going to push them that much farther past the semifinals? Or, because, I mean, Chris Paul, he's kind of known as a playoff choker now too. You know, he's kind of getting that reputation. Like you do great in the regular season, but where are you at in the playoffs?
Again, it depends how they can be able to fit together Chris Paul and James Harden. They want to play together, so I'm assuming they'll be able to make it work. I think it puts them that next step ahead of the Spurs as the second best team in the Western Conference.
That's interesting.
Because the Spurs really haven't been able to make any moves.
Well, they did just get Rudy Gay.
Yeah, they signed Rudy Gay, but does Rudy Gay really make them that much of a difference?
I think that's a great signing for.
It's a good signing for him coming off the bench, but I mean, he's not the addition of a Chris Paul. You know what I mean? So it's interesting, but it doesn't get them past the Warriors at all. I think it. I mean, the way Daryl Morey thinks, the GM of the Rockets, basically, with our 3-point shooting, we can win hopefully 4 games in a 7-game series where if we get hot for 4 games, we can win it. And Chris Paul just helps us even more because he's a star player. But I don't think it really helps them at all. They're still playing into the Warriors' game of 3-point shooting.
Exactly. And I think for Chris Paul, I'm not sure how great of a fit he's going to be for the Houston Rockets. I know they're going to try to make it work. But, the Rockets' offense is all about threes and dunks. And Chris Paul, he's a good 3-point shooter. He's not really great. He's more known as like a mid-range guy, which Mike D'Antoni's not a really big fan of. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Chris Paul's game transitions to this new team.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. So let us know what your guys' thoughts about this trade. Obviously, it's a huge landscape type of changing move for the entire NBA, especially in the Western Conference. But let us know what your thoughts are below. We'll be talking more in depth about the free agency. Gordon Hayward going to the Celtics. Paul George going to the Thunder. A lot of moves to discuss.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching.